Welcome to my channel about parenting. This channel is a little unique, but it's just about simple things that we can do as parents that tend to have a positive effect on our kids growing up. If you go up on my YouTube homepage, you'll see lots of little videos, usually about 10 minutes long, that talk about different topics that we run into as parents. These are things that have worked in our family, and I've seen them work in other families, and I just think that my biggest hope is that you find something useful there. If you do like this video, please hit the like button, and if you subscribe, you'll get a video every week. And hit the chime, it'll come in, it'll be about another parenting topic. Who knows, might be life-changing. So let's get right to this topic. Hidden benefits of family dinners. Hidden benefits. Well, we know family dinners are nice. And we know what family dinners are, but just for fun, let's just quickly define what a family dinner is. It's this one time a day, unique time. We all get together as a group. We sit down. We have some hopefully yummy food, and we just talk to each other and share the events of the day, what's going on in our lives. It can be formal, it can be a box of pizza, it can be a blanket on the beach somewhere. Something that humans have been doing for probably 1,000,000 years, and so we have a little history here. So we know it's nice. We know it's a nice thing to do, but sometimes it's tough to do, right? I mean, in today's world where we have all these pulls from these different schedules that we're on, especially as the kids get older, it can be quite a challenge to be getting together and having a family dinner. It can feel like a luxury. But I'm going to point out in this video that I think it's more than a luxury. I think it's actually a necessity. And I'm going to give you a little sales job on why I think it is a necessity. There are many hidden benefits to having dinners together as a family. One benefit is that it is that unique time once a day where we can get together, where we're not, watching TV or Netflix or playing a video game together. We're actually in that space that's formed by a table, kind of that conversational space where we're close to each other. It's easy to talk, it's easy to communicate, and it's the only opportunity in the day that we have to do that. So that's one benefit. It's unique. The second benefit is that it has a sort of collaborative sort of support benefit sometimes. It's a time when we talk about what's going on in our lives that's good and things that are going on that are maybe less good. And you can have a situation where there's a little bit of input that occurs, where maybe your son is saying that he's been having some problems with some friends of his. And your older daughter might be able to chime in and say, when I was in 5th grade, I had some problems like this with friends of mine. So here's what I did. You get that sort of support, that sort of understanding, some ideas, some suggestions. Parents might add a little bit to this as well. So that can be a benefit for our kids. They get to talk about the things that are going great and get support there, and also talk about the things that are going less than great and get some ideas and support and validation, really, in that sense. A third benefit occurs when our kids get older and they start to head towards those teenager years. And if you've incorporated family dinners into your house, if you've been successfully able to do that, you've got a tradition. It's part of your family. We get together for family dinners 5 days a week, say. So if you have that momentum, it's likely to continue as your kids get to be teenagers. Now, why is that important? Well, as we know, when kids get to be teenagers, it can be a little bit more opaque, sort of seeing what's going on in their lives. And I'm a big believer in keeping these opportunities for communication open. And dinner time is one of those. And let's face it, with teenagers, we're starting to deal with different issues about keeping them safe, issues about less than savory friends, substance abuse, sex. So being able to see into their world is a little bit easier if we're getting together for dinner on a regular basis. Not to say that it's completely easy, but easier. It's a lot better than what I've seen in more than one home with teenagers, in which they take their dinner into their room, they close the door, and they eat their dinner in front of the internet or in front of TV. That's not a great situation to have in a family. Teenagers still need our support. They still need to communicate with us even if they don't seem like they need to. Okay, so I've talked about all these good benefits, but how do we do it? I mean, how do we do it really? It's complicated. We have all these things that are pulling us in different directions. Well, to put it simply, we recognize that it's important and we prioritize it as something that has value in our family. We make it happen. There are many things that will come up that we look at a little bit harder. For example, maybe there's a piano teacher that's just opened up and your child really wants to take lessons with this particular instructor, but the only time that's open is 5:30. We take a hard look at that. Do we really want to break into the family dinners that we have been having for this piano lesson? Maybe there's another choice. Maybe there's another alternative. Maybe your child can wait a little bit longer for a teacher to open up, or work with a different teacher, or get on a wait list again. But things like this, if we recognize that family dinner is important, we have more of an opportunity to prioritize and make things happen. A bigger challenge can be the parents' work schedules. They're less flexible to work with. But still, there are sometimes creative things that we can do in order to keep that time open to have dinners together. One thing might be some creativity in moving dinner a little bit earlier some nights, or maybe a little bit later some nights, in order to keep this thing going in the family, keep getting together, keep communicating. So it's these types of efforts that we can make as parents that tend to help us to maintain and build this tradition for having dinner together as a family. Not to say that it's easy, it does take work. Now, there are some challenges that come up in having dinners together as a family. And one of the obvious ones is that issues are going to come up, potentially leading to arguments. And we don't want this to happen. We want to keep these family dinners to be sort of a safe, neutral zone where we can come in and we can talk and we're not going to get into arguments and fights and stuff like that. And they're somewhat inevitable, let's face it. So what do we do there? Well, as parents, you develop the skill to recognize when something is going to turn into an argument. You can start to see the tension, or you know that the subject is starting to make you a little bit tense, or you start to see some argumentative things coming out with one of your kids. Just stop it right there and say, hey guys, I want to talk about this later, but let's discuss it after homework. Or maybe if it's something that concerns the family, you can say, hey, let's have a family meeting on this later. And yes, there is a video up on my channel on family meetings, which is a good one, I think. So there are ways that we can do. All we have to do as parents is just kind of tune in and try to push that stuff into a different time frame. It's not that difficult to do once you practice it a little bit and you just kind of, get your antenna up so you can see when things are heading into a potentially bad direction. Deal with it later. Another pitfall that's easier to solve is distractions. Turn off the TV if there's a TV around. And of course, there are the devices, the mobile devices, the cell phones. Put them in another room. Put them on mute. Turn them off if you need to, but just get them out of sight, out of mind, so they don't interfere with this time that you have together with your kids. There's nothing sadder than seeing a child at the table telling a story with a big smile on their face, and then a text chime goes off and a parent jumps up to see what the text is about. That's just a sad thing to see. You're basically telling your child the story's not as important as the text message. And I don't think there's any text message, pretty much, that's more important than a child telling a story and sharing that with the family. Yeah, call me an idealist, but I think that's true. So keep those distractions in another room. Turn off the TV, turn off the internet, that sort of thing. Another little thing that can be a wrinkle is balance the conversations. You can find that in some families, some kids, some parents are more talkative than others. They can tend to monopolize the conversation a little bit. We don't want to have that situation. We don't want to have a situation where one person is talking 20 minutes and everybody else gets a chance to talk about 4 minutes. We want to balance this out. So if you see this happening, encourage the person who's not talking that much to simply tell more about what's happening in their day. Just draw them out a little bit, and if you do that on a repeating basis, and it will take repetition sometimes, hopefully that'll sort of balance out the conversation so that everybody has a chance to offer something. It's just a better experience for everybody. Now, one final thing, a little tip. little cool thing that I did during our family dinners, which kind of worked. Sometimes I would read something during the day that seemed like kind of an interesting subject. It might have been something about technology or science, history, news, whatever. And I would just kind of store that up in my head and remind myself to talk about it during dinner, just to kind of bring it up. So maybe it was something about astronomy. So we would get to the dinner and we'd be talking about stuff, and then at some point I would just say something like, hey guys, I read something today pretty interesting about the rings of Saturn. And I would talk about this. It was a way of kind of stimulating a little curiosity, talking about something that was a little bit different, sort of enriching our kids a little bit. And it worked out well. Actually, there is one final benefit that I didn't mention earlier about having dinners together as a family. If you can incorporate this successfully into your family, and it does become a tradition, something you guys do for years, when your kids grow up and they have kids of their own maybe, they might incorporate it into their family as their tradition as well. Your child may have a spouse, and that spouse never had family dinners. Maybe they say, hey, you know, my dad was a nurse, and I hardly ever saw him for dinner, maybe on a Saturday night. So it might be unique and something that your child can say, hey, we did have family dinners, and it was great, and I want our family to have those as well. Not to be too profound here, but it can potentially have a little bit of a multi-generational effect. You're laying groundwork for something that can go on, is what we're saying here. So try them. It will take some work. Prioritizing definitely takes some work. But it's more than just a luxury. It's a necessity. It's something that really does benefit the family in many, many ways. And you can probably find a few more that I haven't even mentioned in this video. So I hope you like this, and I hope this is a help with raising your kids in your family. Thanks for watching.